Well, y'all are catching me in a really, really good mood. Not going to get a whole lot of the angry me in this video because I'm just in a really good mood right now. I finally got around to watching Venture Brothers, and I swear to God, once I started with season 1, and season 1's a little rough, but once you get past it and get into like the last 2 episodes of season 1, and then get on to seasons like 2 and 3 and 4, the show just keeps getting better and better and better. And it's even greater that I'm not one of the guys that actually sat there and waited the 2 or 3 year periods in between seasons. I actually got to watch it all in bulk, and it was one of those shows. It turned into one of those shows where I watched 1 episode, and before I knew it, I watched 6 more. So. Thank you to everybody that recommended it to me because it's a hell of a show, and I can't believe it escaped my notice for so long. But yeah, I'm all up to date on Venture Brothers. That show's fucking awesome. The Monarch reigns supreme. Love that guy. There's so many characters on that show that are great. It's just an awesome, awesome show. But watching so much Venture Brothers has just put me in a really good mood. So that's why I'm so happy. But getting to wrestling-related stuff, I did want to briefly touch up on Raw this week because some stuff happened that was interesting. Most of the show was kind of forgettable. It was just kind of, nothing really packed the punch of last week's killer show. But I did really like the CM Punk Paul Heyman segment. I thought that came off really, really, really well. And Punk and Heyman proved that they're 2 of the best actors in the history of wrestling. I mean, that segment came off really, really well. And I'm really looking forward to seeing where they go with that going forward. And the Daniel Bryan-Randy Orton match was really good, and I hope served as a nice conclusion to the Weak Link storyline. Okay, Daniel Bryan got his big win. He got his big feel-good moment. Now it's time to put him on the path to getting the Money in the Bank briefcase, which he's official. He's in it. And challenging John Cena at SummerSlam for a face versus face match. I gotta say, this week's show really kind of took the fear out of me a little bit that they're going to turn Daniel Bryan heel. I think now that he got the monkey off his back and proved that he can play with the big dogs, I hope they just keep him running because he's one of the most popular guys on the show, and I think turning him heel would just be going against the grain. And as I said before, turning him heel against John Cena would be fruitless because the fans are going to cheer him anyway. I mean, I'm fully going to cheer Mark Henry over Cena at Money in the Bank. Come on. And somebody asked me in the comments on my last video if I was going to Money in the Bank because it's in Philly. I am not. I kind of got tuckered out with WrestleMania and that whole weekend, so I'm not much of a traveler. I'll do it once in a while, but not all the time. So it's like, I got my big wrestling trip this year. I'm good. I don't need to. If a show was in DC, I might go, but I'm not going to Philly. And I realize Philly's not that far away. But still, I just, I don't really feel like it. But I am going to order Money in the Bank. I think it looks like it's shaping up to be a good show, but we shall see. Also wanted to bring up Ring of Honor, which, speaking of a show that was really close by to me, I did not know that the show was being held in Baltimore, Maryland until 15 minutes before the show started. I was like, oh, Ring of Honor's doing their pay-per-view here? Oh, wow. I mean, granted, Baltimore's like 40 minutes away from me, but, it's a doable drive. And I probably would have gone had I known, because my recommendation for Ring of Honor pay-per-views has been lately, do not order the stream, or at least wait a day and avoid spoilers before you order the stream, because the stream will always fuck up on you. But if they're in your town, definitely go, because they always put their best foot forward in that respect. I don't know how the show turned out. I didn't watch it because I didn't order the stream. Yet I heard, once again, the stream fucked up on them. And that's really an unfortunate problem that happens to Ring of Honor and with these iPay-per-views constantly. And I hate to point this out, but the Chikara show I ordered a few weeks ago, I didn't have many major problems with that one. So I don't know. This just seems like a regular thing with Ring of Honor, and not just them, but when I'm seeing Chikara, which is a lesser company, let's be honest, they're able to put on these pay-per-view streams fairly competently. I think the stream stalled on me once or twice, and Ring of Honor, which is the biggest wrestling fed in the country behind WWE and TNA. And they're not able to do it. I think that's very troubling, and that really bothers me. And now I hear they're doing away with the live pay-per-view streams, and they're just going to do them on video on demand, which means that you won't be able to watch the show live, but as long as people are getting like a good quality version of the show to download, then that's probably the best solution to the problem. If they can't actually handle the live stream issues, they might as well just do it that way. So maybe I'll order more Ring of Honor pay-per-views now. Who knows? No, watch. They'll start fucking up on video on demand as well. But yeah, that's really unfortunate. Again, I didn't see the pay-per-view. I have no idea how it turned out. But you know, it's really unfortunate that they've been unable to really get a hold on that, because that's just bad. But as promised, I've been talking about it for a few weeks. I did want to do a big video talking about the Bound for Glory series, which is in full swing right now with TNA. I expect to enjoy Impact more during the summer while the Bound for Glory series is going on, because by the nature of the gimmick, it just makes the show better. You get better matches. Wins and losses matter. It's building up towards the biggest pay-per-view of the year. And it's setting up the main event for the biggest pay-per-view of the year. There's so many good things about it, and I've gone on and on about how much I love the Bound for Glory series. It's basically TNA's playoff system. And it's a valuable tool in that aspect. And just by the nature of it, regardless of what they were doing before, it just makes Impact better. And that's a good thing. So hopefully I enjoy Impact a lot more during the summer because of that. As for the 12 that they put into it, mostly good. AJ Styles, we all knew he was going to be in it. Austin Aries, good. Bobby Roode, good. Jeff Hardy, big name star, can have good matches as long as he's not on the pills. We'll be fine. Who's I thinking of? Christopher Daniels can have a good match with just about anybody. Kazarian can have a good match with just about anybody. Samoa Joe can have a good match with just about anybody. Magnus, a young guy on the rise that TNA seems really high on, and I have to say he's kind of won me over too. He was from the moment he debuted, I was like, this guy has a good look, is a natural on the mic, but green as goose shit. And I think he's finally getting to a point where he's can hold his own in the ring, and that was really the one thing that was holding him back. So we'll see if anything becomes of Magnus in the future. Joseph Park is in it, and that makes me so happy because I like Joseph Park. And they'll probably use that in some way to settle the Abyss split personality angle, but Joseph Park makes me so happy. He's like the perfect Revenge of the Nerds character in wrestling. I just love that guy. Mr. Anderson to represent Aces and Eights, fine, whatever. Hernandez, big strong guy, fine, whatever. And Jay Bradley, who nobody's ever heard of and nobody knows anything about, fine, whatever. He can eat the pins. I don't really care. But unless they push him to the moon like they did Gunner that one year. But so for the most part, a nice 12-some, and I hope they do certain things. Like one of the things I really liked about the first Bound for Glory series that they did was that they would show clips from house show matches. And house shows are kind of accepted as being non-canon. And the matches that happen at house shows are really just TV previews, and they don't really matter that much in the long run. So I like that the Bound for Glory series actually uses house show matches. So it's like the storyline continues when the show's over, and stuff can happen over the weekends that affects the standings and stuff. And that to me is really interesting, and I really like that. And if TNA's in your town, it gives you a reason to check out the show because you're getting a match that's important because it counts towards the Bound for Glory series. And I want them to show clips of those matches. They did in 2011, but they didn't last year, and that really bothered me. Even if they just have one segment every week with JB sitting at a ESPN-style booth or something, Bound for Glory series update, Samoa Joe beat so-and-so, and this guy beat so-and-so, and Bumblefuck Wyoming, or whatever, and show clips from it just to show us them getting the points and affecting the standings, and update the standings every week and stuff like that. Again, more the reasons to just love the Bound for Glory series. I just love that stuff, and I hope they bring that element back this year. But I understand TV time is a precious commodity. They don't really have that much, but hopefully they can make room for that. I also hope that they use the Bound for Glory series to build up matches for Bound for Glory, which they should. One of the things that I always loved about the Royal Rumble, and before I make this point, go check out the Royal Rumble matches. Go check out Royal Rumble 1990 and Royal Rumble 2004. Both of those Rumbles did an excellent job of not only setting up, the 1990 was before the number one contenders rule was in place, but did a great job of setting up the main event for WrestleMania, but also set up basically the entire card. I mean, those two Royal Rumble matches hyped up most of the big matches for WrestleMania later that year, and it was a nice indicator of not only are we doing a big main event, but we're doing all of this stuff too. Here's a preview of all the other stuff that we're doing, and that all worked really well. So with all that, there's a lot of things that TNA could do with the Bound for Glory series, and I think it's a very valuable tool to their overall product. Now, I have to talk about this, though. There was a major spoiler at the Impact tapings. It's going to happen. It's going to air this week on Thursday. And I have to talk about it and the implications that it might have as far as Bound for Glory goes. One of the matches that people have been speculating on for Bound for Glory, as far as what I've seen on comments and message boards, is Hulk Hogan versus Bully Ray at Bound for Glory. And yeah, I was always kind of like, oh god, I hope that match doesn't happen. And it seems like that's where they're going. But how can it happen if Bully Ray's the champion and they're doing the Bound for Glory series to determine a number one contender, and Hogan's not in it? So, and even if Hogan were in it, he'd have to work 11 matches. So it's like, no, I mean, that's just not, it's not going to work. So okay, for them to do that, for them to do Hogan versus Bully, they'd have to take the title off of Bully Ray. And how are they going to do that? Because nobody's really lined up to face him. It's like, oh yeah, Chris Sabin, but nobody would buy Chris. What, it's going to be Chris Sabin versus AJ Styles for the title at Bound for Glory? That's, and nothing against Sabin. It's just that he just came back. I don't feel like he's really that well established yet to win the title. If Daniel Bryan won the WWE title right now, I think that would be premature. I think you should build him up to that point at SummerSlam. If they have this really great idea to get the title on Sabin at some point, great, but they're nowhere near that point now, so I wouldn't do it. And I think AJ versus Sabin would be kind of a match, almost like last year's main event, where Aries and Hardy, yeah, really good match. Nobody gave a shit, though, because there wasn't much of a storyline there, and it just wasn't that interesting. And Hardy is more of an established star than Sabin is, so it wouldn't really mesh all that well. So I don't, if they had done, if they'd actually have Sabin take the title off of Bully, I'm like, that's not gonna work. I don't think so. So I just assume it's like they can't do the Hogan Bully match. Their hands are pretty much tied. And then I read the Impact spoilers this week, and oh dear Lord. First of all, when I read it, I was like, wow, that's actually really creative and kind of shocking. Austin Aries won the X Division title by masquerading as suicide, and he won the title, and now he's going to be the one that gets to challenge Bully Ray for the world title. And that made me, at first I was like, wow, Austin Aries is a genius, that's awesome. And then I thought about it, I was like, oh, that's going to be their way to do it, because Aries is already an established star for the company, an established main eventer, former world champion. And AJ versus Aries is a match that the internet wrestling community really, really wants, and really, really wants to see, and would be a really good match. I'd love to see those two go at it. That just made me go, oh, that's going to be there. Okay, Aries beats Bully for the title, and then they can do Hogan versus Bully. Fuck. Fuck. And it almost feels like that's kind of it's like, all right, we're going to do this Hogan versus Bully match just to squeeze whatever we can out of Hogan, get a big match out of him. And this will be us, doing AJ versus Aries for the world title will be us throwing it's like, all right, for the internet fans, here's your, we're going to give you this one just to make you happy, to appease you. But I really don't want Hogan to get in the ring. It's like, dude, you're like 800 years old, and he can't, as limited as Hogan was back in the day, and Hogan was always famous for being a get the most out of the least kind of a guy. His matches were very limited in the style of moves that you would see. But Hogan today, I think even doing something as simple as the leg drop would kill him. I don't think he could even do that anymore. He's just had so many surgeries and is so banged up. I'm like, okay, look, if you have to have Hogan wrestle, could you at least make it a tag match? Jesus Christ. But no, it looks like I can already see it coming. It's going to be Hogan versus Bully Ray, and it's like, do not want. But we get AJ and Aries out of it, apparently. But, of course, this is all speculation on my part. Aries hasn't won the world title yet, so we'll see what happens. They're doing a Destination X live TV special where Aries will presumably face Bully Ray. I don't know. Again, don't know how this is all going to play out, how this is all going to work. But this is just me looking at the way things are working now, and I'm like, oh dear Lord, I can see where this is going. It's just, God damn it. Oh, Methuselah Hulk Hogan getting into the ring with Bully Ray, and that's just not good. But I would like to take the time now on that subject to predict what the Bound for Glory card is going to be. I did this with WrestleMania this year, and I was completely wrong. The only match I got right was Rock versus Cena, and let's face it, we all knew that match was coming. The second Rock pinned Cena at 28, we all knew it was like, well, rematch. That's what we're getting next year. Get ready for that one. And that was the only one I got right. But I'm going to try it again with Bound for Glory. Maybe I'll be right, a little bit more correct on this one. And maybe me assuming the worst is going to lead to me being more correct, I guess. But yeah, let's go. For the knockouts, it seems like they have their core four right now. It's going to be Mickie James, Velvet Sky, Gail Kim, and Taryn Terrell. And that just kind of makes me think, especially with the buzz they got from the Gail Kim, Taryn Terrell match, it just makes me think, okay, they're going to cycle these four girls around for a little bit, and then they're going to do the four-way at Bound for Glory, and that'll be like sort of the payoff, and utilize all four of their top four girls at the moment, and it seems perfectly logical. So fine, whatever. Mickie will probably still be champion by then, I would assume so. So there's that. X Division title, I have no fucking clue because this weird triple threat format, it's hard to tell who's going to be cycled in and who's going to be cycled out. I don't know if they're even going to stick with the triple threat format for much longer. Who the hell knows? But I'm going to take a wild guess and say it'll be like Kenny King, Petey Williams, and Chavo Guerrero for the X title, probably with Chavo winning. So there's that. Tag titles, the only match I can think of would be James Storm and Gunner versus Bad Influence, because that's really their whole tag division at this point. They really need more tag teams. Or at the very least, they have the Aces and Eights. And the Aces and Eights, whether you like the talents or you don't, I'm like, okay, if you're going to push these guys as this big, unbeatable stable, and it's sort of like Ryback in that aspect. It was like, okay, look, I'm not that high on Ryback, but if you want to make him into your own Goldberg, here's what you should do. And I'll give you any idea you want to make Ryback look good and look strong and how to book him correctly. It's kind of that way with Aces and Eights. All right, I'm not exactly high on most of these guys, but if you want me to think of them as this threatening, menacing group, you should have them actually kill people and actually be dominant. Because it seems like they lose more than they win, and that's very problematic, especially with a major stable that you want to build your show around. Luke Gallows and Mike Knox should be this bruiser, brawling tag team that murders people, like Chronic used to be. And I actually liked Chronic. They were one of the few things I marked out for in like the dying days of WCW. And it's unfortunate they're kind of remembered for that horrible match they had with Undertaker and Kane in WWF, because it's like, look, in WCW they were pretty cool. I liked them. They just went out there and they murdered people. It was awesome. It was great. But that's what Luke Gallows and Mike Knox should be. They should just be these bruiser badasses that just kill people. It'd be awesome, and you'd have a legit big guy tag team. But they haven't done that, so all right, whatever. But it'll probably be Storm and my favorite wrestler in the whole world, Gunner, versus Bad Influence, because that's literally the best match they could possibly have. Another match I was thinking of, maybe Bobby Roode versus Chris Sabin. I know we all thought that Chris Sabin was going to be the one that would face Bully Ray for the title and cash in his X Division title shot, and it felt like he was in line for a big push. Now with this whole Austin Aries thing, throwing a monkey wrench into everything, it kind of switches everything around. But I thought, okay, Bobby Roode did injure Sabin last year, and that's a loose story thread that they could play with if they wanted to. And this was right before Austin Aries faced Roode for the title going into Destination X. So if they wanted to work around with that, and if they do want to eventually build Sabin up to that main event level, that would be a good stepping stone towards getting him up to that point. Again, just throwing ideas out there. So make that like some kind of a contenders match or something. With the understanding that at least the winner will move up the heavyweight rankings. Or maybe even do what they did last year when they did that AJ, Roode, and was it Storm, I think? In a three-way where the winner of the fall is the #1 contender, and the loser is out of contention for a year. Maybe do that with them. I don't know. I actually really like that concept too. It's like, oh hey, the winner gets a reward and the loser gets punished and moves down the rankings. Oh, what a crazy idea! I actually like that. And again, to praise more WWE booking, I like that they set up the Usos as #1 contenders for the tag titles by having them win a string of matches over different teams. It's like, they earned their tag title shot by beating a different team every week. And it's like, oh yeah, they moved up the ranking. Crazy. What do you know that works? But, so yeah, Rude versus Sabin in a contenders match. Then we'll have the main event Mafia versus Aces and Eights, although nobody, I don't think anybody takes Aces and Eights seriously anymore because they lose all the time. It just feels like, basically the group right now, and I've said it before, it's Bully Ray and his meat shield, and that's all it is. His group of meat shields, I should say. It's maybe Anderson's a little bit higher than that. Maybe Devon's a little higher than that. But even then, whatever. They just have not done a very good job of keeping the Aces and Eights looking like this strong, unbeatable faction. The only one that really means anything is Bully Ray, and how long is that going to last? I don't know. But yeah, it'll probably be like Sting, Joe, Hardy, Magnus and Abyss or Joseph Park or somebody versus 5 people in the Aces and Eights or whatever. So hopefully in like a street fight or something, because Lethal Lockdown, you already did one this year. Don't do another one. There's no need for that. That would be boring. So you'll probably get that, and then we've got the Hulk Hogan Bully Ray match that I talked about earlier. It'll probably be no DQ, so they can throw every goddamn bell and whistle they could possibly throw at you. Whatever, just to get that by and let Hogan have his match or whatever. But again, nobody cares. But I have a feeling now, especially with this Austin Aries X Division title win, I'm like, yeah, I think that's what we're getting. So, hooray! But whatever. All right, that match is going to happen. And this next match, which I actually think is interesting, this is more of a spectacle match that I actually do find interesting. Kurt Angle versus Quentin Rampage Jackson. This match actually intrigues me because you're taking a guy who's a well-known name in the world of mixed martial arts, is a natural. I mean, Rampage is really quotable, and I'm not a huge MMA follower, but I know who Rampage Jackson is, and I've listened to him talk at press conferences and stuff like that. Guy's a hoot. He's a little nuts. He played B.A. Baracus in the A-Team movie, which not a smart project to even do in the first place, but there's a reason why he was cast in that role. It's because he's charismatic enough to do it. So I think putting him in a wrestling show, I was like, oh, that's actually interesting. And I want to see if he could put something together with Angle and probably put an entertaining fight together. That match is actually interesting. And it's utilizing a big name that you could probably get an interesting match out of, as opposed to Hogan, who... And yes, I know the match with Sting at Bound for Glory a couple years ago was like surprisingly entertaining, but I look at that as y'all got lucky. It's like, don't push your luck. Really, really do not push your luck there. But they're going to do it anyway, but whatever. So, okay, but Rampage Jackson versus Kurt Angle, that match I actually do find interesting. And, it's a nice change-up, and I do like it. I'm not against the idea of utilizing outside personalities for wrestling. WrestleMania was built on that concept. I like the Floyd Money Mayweather stuff that WWE did a few years ago with Big Show. I thought the match was a hoot, personally. That's just me. But then again, there's also examples like Lawrence Taylor versus Bam Bam, which the feud was actually really good. I like the build-up to it. It's just the execution of the match, mainly LT being woefully unprepared for the rigors of professional wrestling, that really hurt it and made it a not so good match. But so you do run that risk, I understand that, but for now I do like that Rampage Jackson is in TNA, and I think they could do some really interesting stuff with him, especially if they do this match with Kurt Angle. I think that could actually be a really cool one to do. So that's one that's like, that's actually pretty interesting. I like that one. And the main event, I already talked about it. As far as picking a Bound for Glory series winner, I think it has to be AJ. He's the most interesting character. He's the one they put the most focus on as a character. And it'll be him versus Austin Aries, I would guess. Again, that's just what I'm assuming. Again, to throw the internet a bone and be like, okay, look, we're putting Hogan in the ring with Bully, but we're going to give you this match just to make you happy, and you'll get like this really good athletic match out of it. Hopefully, if they do that, hopefully they're able to craft some kind of storyline with the two, because last year with Hardy and Aries, I mean, they had almost nothing. So hopefully they do get something good out of that, and I do think AJ's going to win the title no matter who he faces. So, but again, they could switch everything up on me and make me look stupid. So, yeah, that's my Bound for Glory predicted card, and let's see if TNA pulls the WWE and just does completely different things from what I'm predicting. So we'll see if any of that goes down. But until then, I've got another video planned for later in the week. So stay tuned for that. But until then, that's all I've got for you now. So later, everybody. Enjoy your week.